This special time and this place that we make sacred each week by gathering here in beloved community. I'm the Reverend Tom Rosciello, minister of the fellowship, and we're so glad you're with us this morning. Today we are particularly blessed to have several wonderful musicians and dancers helping us to celebrate Candelaria and Flower Communion. We have dancers from our fantastic own Ballet Folklorico. We have Carol Hendrick Burris and Charlie Burris, two wonderful UU folk singers from First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston, who will be sharing music with us. Mauro Ledesma is our principal pianist again today, and we're thrilled that he's joined by one of his very best students, Asher Roberge, who just a couple of weeks ago turned 12. As we move into our sacred time together, we'll be guided by Asher sharing a beautiful Chopin nocturne with us. Your attentive listening is appreciated.
Bravo, Asher. And thank you so much for that beautiful performance. Hello, friends. My name is Nora Cohen. I am a new member of the Sunday Service Committee, and I am your service leader today. Welcome to the Sunday morning service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende. Thank you for making community together online and in person. You are all welcome here regardless of your religious background, where you come from, gender, identity, or who you love. You have a few announcements. After the service, the Zoom members are invited to stay connected and visit with others in the main room for discussion. Those who are with us at the Aldea can join us for coffee and cookies downstairs outside. Exciting news about Judy Jackson's wonderful film. Friday the 10th Biblioteca showing of Where Can We Live in Peace has been sold out. The good news is that there will be another showing at the Quinto Loreto on February 16th at 11:30, and there'll be more information next week. If we have any visitors here today, would you please stand so we can see who you are and personally greet you at the coffee hour after service? So would you please stand? Wow. Si tenemos visitas aquí hoy, por favor, párese para que podamos ver quién es y saludarlo personalmente después del servicio. Si desea una copia del sermón de hoy en español, levante la mano. Okay. We do record our Sunday services, our Sunday in-person services. Just go to youtube.com and type in the UUFSMA to access the great wealth of recordings we've collected there. Finally, please check the order of service or our website, uufsma.org, to see the various events sponsored by the fellowship and information for how to become a member. And now we welcome Tom Rosiello, our minister.
Nora, welcome. Nora.
Sorry.
It's okay. Malcolm Malay.
Sorry.
No problem. You set on that. There you go.
Okay.
The flaming chalice is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition. And as we do each week, we begin our service by lighting a single flame, representing our coming together as one beloved community.
El cáliz liamienta es el símbolo de nuestra tradición de fe unitaria universalista. Como lo hacemos cada semana, iniciamos nuestro servicio encendiendo una sola llama, representando nuestra unión como una comunidad amada.
This flame is a beacon of welcome and acceptance of all, especially those who may be different from us.
Esta llama es un faro de bienvenida y aceptación a todos, especialmente a aquellos que sean diferentes a nosotros.
This flame glows with the warmth of love and compassion, especially for those who struggle at this time.
Esta llama brilla con el calor de amor y la compasión, sobre todo para los que luchan en este momento.
This flame burns intensely for justice and peace, especially for those who are suffering inequality, oppression, violence, and war.
Esta llama arde intensamente por la justicia y la paz, especialmente para aquellos que están sufriendo la desigualdad, la opresión, la violencia y la guerra.
May it illuminate our path and ignite new passion and purpose in each of us.
Que ilumine nuestro camino y encienda una nueva pasión y propósito en cada uno de nosotros.
Gracias. If I were to ask you, what's special about this week, particularly what's special about February 2nd, what would you say? Well, some of you might say it's Groundhog Day, and that's true. And by the way, I heard that Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow, so those poor folks up north will have 6 more weeks of winter, and that prediction certainly seems to be coming true in the last couple of days. How blessed we are to be here. Well, Groundhog Day is kind of a silly holiday, but it has some roots in a very ancient tradition. If you're knowledgeable in pre-Christian pagan traditions, especially from the British Isles, you would tell me that February 2nd is Imbolc. Imbolc is the midpoint between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. It's celebrated as the winter ending with the signs of spring beginning to appear. It's an important point in the astrological calendar. For those of you who make your home here in Mexico, you would surely tell me that February 2nd is Candelaria. But what is Candelaria? Well, from the Catholic Church's point of view, Candelaria, in English Candlemas, is a day when candles are blessed. It's also called the Feast of the Purification, the day when Mary, the mother of Jesus, goes to the temple as she's required to do according to Jewish law, 40 days after the birth of a child for purification. In the story, Mary has Jesus with her in the temple, and she presents him to the ancient Hebrew scholar Simeon. Thus, February 2nd is also known as the Feast of the Presentation. The blind Simeon holds the child Jesus and speaks to Jesus and recognizes him as, metaphorically, a new light coming into the world, another kind of cosmic light, if you will, perhaps introducing the new direction of things. The fact that Simeon himself is blind and can see this light makes the reader know that it's a different kind of light. And now we see the presentation aspect of this story celebrated beautifully in Mexico. Women dress their Jesus dolls from the Christmas creche in beautiful new clothes and bring them to church to be presented. Here in San Miguel, I've witnessed that tradition, particularly at the San Juan de Dios Church. And in the months leading up to Christmas, if you go to the San Juan de Dios market, there are hundreds of outfits for sale for all size baby Jesus dolls for those who don't want to make the new clothes. But here in Mexico, Candelaria is much more than a Catholic holiday. Long before the Catholic missionaries arrived, February 2nd was celebrated as the day when winter ends and the signs of the beginning of spring appear. It was, and still is in some communities, the day when the corn seed is blessed in the name of the indigenous god of rain and prepared for planting. The Catholic missionaries tried to stop the practice of this corn ceremony invoking the rain god, but like so many other practices and celebrations, it did not disappear, but it morphed or went underground. The blessing of the corn changed to the eating of tamales and the drinking of atole, all made from corn. And not to be defeated, the clever Catholics even connected that practice to their tradition. You remember, it's the person who gets the figurine of the baby Jesus in the rosca on Three Kings that has to provide the tamales for Candelaria. But the heart of Candelaria, especially in the indigenous community, is the recognition of this day as a changing point from winter's time of rest, moving towards the rebirth in spring. Time to ready the garden, time to buy and embrace the flowers and plants. You can't walk through Park Juarez with all the beauty and color of the flowers and fail to understand the richness of the indigenous roots of this holiday. Well, do you see the common threads that run through all these holidays? Do you see that they're interconnected? Can you see how common themes remain even as religious traditions and celebrations change over time? The February 2nd holidays all celebrate a turning point, a time of new promise, of change, time of hope, a glimpse of new light coming, literally or metaphorically. Now, in our own tradition, we have a ritual that's also often celebrated when the signs of spring are in the air, when the flowers are first blooming. Like Candelaria, it is celebrated with flowers of many varieties and beautiful colors. And it has a deeper meaning, too, that we'll explore today. Also, making it a potential changing point in our lives, seeing a new light, if you will, a very human light. It's a celebration that asks us to put aside petty stuff, the prejudices, the disagreements, and appreciate more the beauty of every person. Appreciate the beauty of diversity. So why not celebrate our unique UU holiday here in Mexico on this week too? Why not celebrate Candelaria along with and in the celebrate this flower communion along with and in the context of Candelaria? And indeed we will today, with flowers and all the colors. So now let us come together in song to begin the celebration. It's hymn 305, both in English and Spanish. The words will appear on the screen. And just for today, instead of standing for this hymn and covenant, I'll ask you to remain seated so that everyone can see the special treat that'll be coming down the center aisle. And notice the beautiful dresses of the Ballet Folklorico, each representing a part of Mexico. San Miguel itself, Sinaloa, Yucatan, y Carnaval de Sinaloa.
Yes, the colors we see in the springtime with all of its flowers. All the colors. When the sunlight shines out through a rift in the cloud and it showers. All the colors. As a rainbow appears when a storm cloud is touched by the sun. All the colors abound for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. And the colors abound for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. All the colors, yes, the colors of people parading on by with their banners. All the colors, yes, the colors of pennants and streamers and plumes and bandanas. All the colors, yes, the colors of people now taking their place in the sun. All the colors abound for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. All the colors abound for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. All the colors, yes, the black and the white and the red and the brown and the yellow. All the colors of people who smile and shake hands and say hello. All the colors, yes, the colors of people who know that their freedom is won. All the colors abound for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. All the colors abound for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun.
En español.
De colores se vistan los campos en la primavera. De colores son los pajarillos Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí.
Muy bonito, muchas gracias.
I invite you to stay seated to join in the fellowship's unique covenant, first in English, and then Diana Amaya will lead us in the Spanish. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
Each week in our service, we take time to share with our members and friends significant joy, sorrows, and concerns with our community. If you have a joy, sorrow, or concern you'd like shared in an upcoming service, please email it to me. If you are on Zoom today and you'd like to share, you can type a joy, sorrow, or concern into the chat. I'll try and keep an eye here, but to see what comes in. And Nora will light for us. We begin with a candle of joy. And it's from Betsy Davis. And she says in her words, "My joy is to welcome Tina Lane into our UU 90s club." She turned 90 on January 31st. Happy birthday, Tina. Many of us who followed the news of the horrible death of Tyre Nichols light this candle in solidarity with his family and with great concern for violence perpetrated by the very people who are charged with protecting us, and for the systemic racism that permeates so much of law enforcement. We light a candle sending get well wishes to two people who are supposed to be participating in today's service and be here. Kathy Canepa, who just came back with a bit of a cold and doesn't want to risk spreading anything, and Robin Loving, who's gone up to the hospital with intestinal issues. So please hold them both in your thoughts and send good well wishes. I'm going to try and see if I have Please light a candle for Shoshana as she continues in the 9th month of chemo. I think that's it. Okay, and so now we'll light our yellow and blue candle for all those who've lost their lives, lost their loved ones, been displaced or otherwise suffered hardship and pain as a result of the unprovoked and unjust war in the Ukraine, which now is reaching the 1-year point. And we light a final candle for all those joys, sorrows, and concerns that remain in our heart but are unspoken today. And now, Charlie and Carol, if you would like to take your spots near the mics. And in beloved community, we share each other's burdens. We encourage each other on the journey. We're here for each other. And yes, we can call on each other for help and support in difficult times. We say, as Carol and Charlie now remind us in song, if you need me, just call on me. I'm here for you.
Sometimes things don't turn out the way you planned, and it's hard to believe when life just dealt you another dirty hand. It'll bring you to your knees when it feels like this whole world is caving in. Then it's time to call me up, my friend. Just call me up, my friend. Seems you're more than your share of a heavy load. Just keeps raining every day. Just like those stories we've all been told. Keep walking and you'll find your way. When it feels like this whole world is caving in, then it's time to call me up, my friend. Just call me up, my friend. Call me in the dead of night. We all need some love and care. When nothing day or night feels right, when your heart is cold and bare. By the time we reach our mortal end, pain and sorrow we will share. The thing that helps our lonely hearts to mend is knowing that cross we all must bear. When it feels like the tears will never end, then it's time to call me up, my friend. Just call me up, my friend.
Thank you, Carol and Charlie, for your beautiful message and your beautiful music. It's true that we do call on each other, not just for support in difficult times, but we call on each other to support our common endeavor. This fellowship is so worthy of our support. For each of us, it may be for different reasons, but they're all important reasons. And now, I invite you to hear Phyllis Culp explain her reasons for supporting this fellowship.
Hi, I'm Phyllis Culp. I'm on our committees on ministry, finance, and endowment. I just made my 2023 pledge because I value our ever-growing and ever-changing beloved community. All that we do to support each other and our wonderful San Miguel neighbors, the principles and covenant we share, and the inspiration and spiritual help I get in being the person I want to be. The people I meet, can-do ideas, and encouragement I get and give here help to keep me hopeful, inspired, and working towards a better me and a better world. What's not to love about our fellowship? The love and strength I get from this church keep me going. And I want to keep going, growing, and giving. Please join me in giving to our fellowship to support what you value. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Phyllis. In your order of service, you'll find a pledge form. Unfortunately, I'm doing this because our pledge chair, Robin Loving, is in the hospital this morning, as I mentioned to you, in Joys and Concerns. But she tells me that it was a very successful number of pledges that came in last week, and she's challenged us to beat that this week. So if you haven't filled out a pledge form, please take time during the service to do so. I think there's some pens going around. Take a moment and do that, and we would really appreciate it. And while you're doing that, we're going to tell you about our other opportunity of giving. Stan Allen, where are you, Stan? Come on up. Stan is going to explain what our Blue Plate Special is. And a Blue Plate Special is a special offering we take up several times a year, and all the money doesn't come to us, but goes to today what Stan will explain to you about. You can drop these pledge forms, by the way, in the offering basket later when it goes around. And you can also give it. Gary and Margot, would you just wave? People can also give their pledge forms to Gary or Margot at the end of the service, or drop them at the table with our tech crew. Thank you so much. And all yours.
Good morning, everybody. Aren't we lucky to be members of this fellowship? People are taking pictures of the service today. Everyone wants to remember this day. Hello, everyone. I am Stan Allen, and I'm a proud volunteer at Abba House, a sanctuary and shelter for migrants in Celaya. I am so grateful for another opportunity to thank the beloved UU Fellowship for embracing and supporting Abba House in so many ways. So many of you have generously donated clothes, shoes, backpacks, food, and money to my GoFundMe. There is a deep partnership between Abba and UU. 5 years ago, I went with John Cesarian, then president of UU, and a group of volunteers from Caminamos Juntos for a consult with Pastor Ignacio. I translated for the group and developed an immediate respect and connection with Pastor Ignacio. What I learned is that in that first meeting was UU and Abba House share basic values and principles of inclusivity, human rights, social justice, and diversity. Pastor Ignacio sends his profound thanks. In 7 years, Abba has welcomed over 80,000 migrants and families from Central America. Whatever is happening at the Mexican-U.S. border is happening at Abba. Abba welcomed hundreds a night during the early caravans, followed by groups of unaccompanied minors, waves of Haitian migrants, and currently Venezuelans who risked their lives crossing the Darien Pass, all brave, desperate, and hopeful. Abba is the only shelter in Mexico that lodges and, in partnership with the Cruz Roja, provide rehab and prosthetic therapies for amputees. Abba has taken care of more than 70 amputees and has a waiting list. All services are free no matter how long they stay. Abba House relies primarily on individual donations that arrive to my GoFundMe or to the Latin American Relief Fund founded by a UU member, Cher Davison. Currently, with the vision and leadership of Pastor Ignacio, there are ambitious plans to develop a long-term residential and educational facility along with the Center for Migrant Rights. This is going to require the support of many, many villages. I take many folks over to ABBA, and they all say they're changed by the experience. So I want to take you for a brief visit to ABBA House. Can you all see the photo? Yeah. This is Tiffany. Tiffany arrived at ABBA all by herself at age 4. She had fallen from the train in her mother's arms. Her mother was in the hospital. She lost 2 legs. What's wonderful about this photo is Tiffany is dressed in her school uniform, and she's doing something ordinary that a 5-year-old should be doing. We love Tiffany. Next photo. This is Amikar. Last summer, I took everyone swimming to a thermal baths here in San Miguel. Amikar, who lost his right leg above the knee, he told me he's from a poor country. In a poor country, all you have is your own body. So he was working through an incredible depression as he was dealing with this loss of his leg. In therapy, he learned about the Paralympics, and he got really inspired. He came back to ABBA House, did serious weight training, and he left on his 2 feet with a very strong body. Next photo. This photo doesn't require really any commentary. This is Carlitos, who is taking his first tentative steps as a double amputee, guided and helped by Noah, who has a prosthesis, and an Eber. The challenge of rehab is incredible, and the power and strength of the ABBA community is such a therapeutic element for everyone. Next picture. Almost the first word in every conversation I have with the migrants is gracias a Dios. Many of the poor, oppressed, and disadvantaged have strong, strong faith. This photo rejects every mean word of anti-migrant rhetoric. Next photo. This is a favorite photo of mine. This is Pastor Ignacio with a toddler. And I think it shows his incredible touch and compassion and how he appears to be a giant to everyone. And now I want to tell you about an untaken photo. Last week, 2 of our residents were leaving. They had completed their rehab and their therapy, Noah and Darwin. And I wasn't going to be there to say goodbye to them, so I asked Pastor Ignacio if he would take a photo for me. When I saw Pastor Ignacio this last week, I said, "Did you get the photo?" And he said, "I couldn't take the picture. We were all crying so hard." And I said, "Oh, everyone was so sad about saying goodbye." And he said, "No, they were overjoyed with their ability to leave ABBA on their own 2 feet and continue their migration." I've always wanted to say this. The offering will be taken and gratefully received. Oh, and this is a Blue Plate special, and all the money will benefit ABBA House. So open up your hearts. Thank you.
Thank you, Asher and Morrow, and Asher's, your whole family, we welcome you here today. It's so wonderful to have you with us. Today we use flowers to say something about ourselves, to say something that often remains hidden inside of us, something that perhaps we fail to recognize often enough. The flowers that we have each added to these bouquets symbolizes the best in each of us. It symbolizes the unique beauty and love that is at the core of each of our being. And like the delicate petals of these flowers, this part of us is fragile. We are not always loving. We are not always caring. We do not always respond to others from the best part of ourselves. Yet we know that at the core of our being, that spirit is still there. There are many kinds of flowers here today, just as there are many different kinds of people here today. Sometimes I think it's easier to see the beauty in a flower than in a person. All sorts of things can blind us from seeing the beautiful part of another person. These gathered flowers remind us that in our interactions with each other, we must look deeper and set aside those attitudes and prejudices that blind us from seeing the beauty and the worth of another person and their ideas. Like flowers, we need to be nurtured. For a flower to grow and bloom, it needs many things. It needs good soil in which its roots can be firmly planted. It needs the warmth of sun in the dark of night. It especially needs to be watered regularly to maintain its health and beauty. And so do all of us. In order for us to grow and bloom, we need to be watered by the love and caring of others. We need to feel the warmth of community like this. And we need a spiritual tradition of faith in which our roots can hold firm. This is what we acknowledge in this uniquely Unitarian Universalist ritual of flower communion that we celebrate today. This beautiful service was started by the Reverend Norbert Čapek 100 years ago at the Unitarian Church in Prague. Čapek believed in celebrating our diversity and recognizing the equal worth and dignity of every person. And this flower celebration, or festival as he called it, is one way of doing that. Čapek's firm commitment to the value of all people caused him to speak out against the Nazi regime. He was arrested, sent to a concentration camp at Dachau, where he died. Although Čapek didn't use the word communion to describe this ritual, it has since become known that way in Unitarian Universalist churches and fellowships all over. At first, that may seem like a rather unusual use of the word, but upon deeper reflection, it seems so appropriate. In Webster's dictionary, communion is defined as the act of sharing. The word community comes from the very same root. It's not just the beauty of diversity that we celebrate, but also the fact that with all that diversity, we can still come together as a sharing community. Most congregations in the United States celebrate this service in May or June, when the flowers are in bloom and before folks part for summer vacations. But here in Mexico, it seems most appropriate to celebrate it at this time of year, to coincide with the celebration of Candelaria, which also celebrates with an abundance of flowers. And it is a time when most of our residents are, in fact, here. As we engage in our pledge campaign now, as we prepare for our annual meeting, it's a time when we need to remember the lessons of this uniquely Unitarian Universalist ritual, the lessons it has to teach. At the first flower communion service in Prague, a young man, a boy named Hevzdan Kafka, was present. He was inspired by his minister, Norbert Čapek. He later began to study to become a Unitarian minister in Prague. As the Nazis took over his country, he managed to escape first to England and then to the United States, where with the help of the American Unitarian Association, he completed his studies to become a Unitarian minister. He was called to be the minister of the First Parish of Stowe and Acton in Massachusetts. He was, in fact, the minister emeritus there when I was called to be their minister. He brought this service to the congregation in Massachusetts and passed the service on to me, and I led the celebration of it every year during my tenure there. A couple of years ago, I celebrated it here with you in Mexico for the first time. It's a wonderful tradition. It's reached 100 years, and it's been passed down through generations of ministers and across borders of countries. And now Nora will lead us in a responsive reading for this day.
And in your order of service, you will find the Flower Festival Litany to be done as a responsive reading. I'll read the solid text, and please help me read the italics. Okay. So Flower Festival Litany by Reverend Hevzan Kafka. True beauty comes from the earth. It is found in flowers and trees and all living things, which make this life a rainbow of color.
We too come from the earth. The same life which makes plants and creatures has given birth to us, that we might add to its richness.
Once we arrogantly believed in our dominion. We thought that nature's bounty was ours to find, use up, and throw away.
Now we know that we must be kind to nature if nature is to be kind to us, that our task is to protect and preserve, not to waste and destroy.
Once, too, people believed that they could trust only their own kind, that people who looked or spoke differently were natural enemies.
Now we know that peoples of this earth are one family, one life in a common life. And only as we are good to each other are we secure ourselves.
Yet humanity has difficulty expressing this kinship it feels. Having so long learned war, it is hard to preserve peace.
There is a courage needed for friendship, a courage not frightened by strangeness, nor afraid of being misunderstood.
So we come to each other with gifts. Take this present I offer you. Accept my gift as a friend.
Out of our sharing shall we all be made richer. In the giving of flowers to each other, we will shine greater beauty and more abundance peace. 100 years ago, Reverend Čapek stood over the flowers at the church in Prague as I stand here and spoke these words. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts to be one in desire and affection and devotion to the holy will. May we also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of the most precious gifts. May we not let an awareness of another's talents discourage or sully our relationship. May we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do this work in the world. I invite you to join in the Flower Communion Prayer, also by Reverend Čapek. It's found in your hymnal at number 723, and it will also appear on the screen. In the name of Providence, which plants in the seed the future of the flower, and in our hearts the longing for people living in harmony. In the name of the highest, in whom we move, and who make the mother and father, the brother and sister, the lover and loner what they are. in the name of sages and great religious leaders who sacrificed their lives to hasten the coming of the age of mutual respect. Let us renew our resolution sincerely to be real brothers and sisters, regardless of any kind of bar which estranges us from each other. In this holy resolution, may we be strengthened, knowing that we are God's family. The one Spirit, the Spirit of love, unites us and endeavor for a more perfect and more joyful life. Amen. All are invited to participate in what we call a flower communion in this church, in any kind of communion that's celebrated. No one would be required to profess a particular faith or to espouse any particular belief in order to take part in our rituals. To do so would be contrary to our very being. What our communion here is about is the building of beloved community, where each brings the love and gifts they possess to share with others, and where in turn they benefit from the gifts and the love of others. In this communion, we acknowledge our profound need for one another. Finally, just like these flowers, we will not live forever. Our season, too, will come to an end. But let us remember that the seeds of the next crop of flowers are in these blossoms, just as the seeds of the future of this community of faith are in each of us. It's now time for each of us to share in the communion of flowers. I'm going to ask Hillary and Gary or Margot or another usher if two of you would come forward to help guide people up row by row. Please come forward to the middle row by row and then maybe go back around the edges of the room. And when you do, pick up a flower from one of the vases at the altar table. Please come up the center aisle when I ask you to do so, and then go back perhaps down the side. The ushers will direct you forward, a few people at a time. And after you've selected a flower, please continue back to your seat quietly. This is really a sacred time. Please quietly listen to the beautiful music of our pianists and our guest musicians. Take some time in quiet thought. Let the music fill your soul as you note your flower's particular shape and color and beauty. Know that it's a gift from some other member of this congregation, who in turn receive it from the giver of all life. The flower you will hold in your hand in a moment is unique, just like the person who brought it. It's special and unique. Just as it contributes its beauty to the bouquets gathered here, the individual who brought it contributes to the pattern of love and trust and mutual support we share in our communion with each other. We would not be complete without the gifts of each of us. Think about who might have given you the flower. Did it come from a friend's garden, as I know some of these did? Was it brought by a person with whom you might have had a difference of opinion, even an argument recently? Was it placed in a basket by someone who has been coming here for years and years, or perhaps by a new member or someone visiting for the first time? Is the person who gave it like you, your race, your nationality, your sexual orientation, your gender, your age, or are they different from you? We just don't know who brought the flower we select, and that indeed is good, because then there is only one response. We must treat everyone as if they were the person who brought this beautiful flower. If anyone is not able or comfortable coming forward to select a flower, please raise your hand and I or someone will bring one to you. And you now may, starting with the front row, begin to come forward, pick a flower, kind of go around back to your seats, and listen silently to the beautiful music that will accompany this ritual.
to witness to it. We are here to about creation and to witness to it and to notice each other's beautiful face and complex nature, to notice each other's beautiful face and complex nature. So creation knew, not play to an empty house. So creation knew, not play to an empty house. We are here to about creation and to witness to it. We are here to about creation and to witness to it and to notice each other's beautiful face and complex nature, to notice each other's beautiful face and complex nature. So the creation knew, not play to an empty house. Creation knew, not play to an empty house.
I invite Charlie and Carol and Malcolm and Mara and all of you to join in our hymn. It's number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. The words will appear here. You can stand with your flowers, dance with them if you wish, and really proclaim the beautiful message of this text. Will singers join me up here? And hymn number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. Please rise for this one. Seated. Thank you so much for being with us today, whether in person and on Zoom. And I should have watched, but if you look in front of me, if you can see in front of me, these flowers are the flowers that are taken by the folks on 50 or so people that are on Zoom. We put some in here for you too as well. So know symbolically one of those flowers is yours that you're taking home with you. Also want to let you know that we're so happy that 15,610 pesos and $85 was raised in the Blue Plate Special for Abba House. Thank you for your participation and generosity to Abba House. And also thank you to those who made a pledge today or will make a pledge today. Your generosity is so appreciated. Special thanks to our musicians and our beautiful dancers who contributed their talent, the Ballet Folklorico of here in San Miguel, and are experiencing this wonderful ritual. We hope you'll join us again next week, either in person or on Zoom, where our guest minister will be well-known Unitarian Universalist minister, the Reverend Wayne Aronson. Finally, there are many opportunities for you to make connections, spiritual growth, learning, and just plain fun with the fellowship this week. So please be sure to note them all in the order of service. Particularly this week, we began a new monthly event called All Things UU. It'll be the second Wednesday of every month from 1 to 2 on Zoom. It's sort of a Lex-structured learning opportunity where people submit questions to me in advance, and we'll pick one or two to answer in depth. If you have a question you want considered, send it to me. This week's question came from a couple of people. What the heck do you believe anyway? So I'll take a shot at that on Wednesday. There's also still place in the in-person three-part class that takes place starting the end of February to sign up for the class or to sign up to get notices for the All Things UU. You want to contact Deanna Amaya, our administrator, online. Also, I think I have a prop here. Maybe I don't. Maybe I forgot it. I thought I had a book with me. But anyway, we are urging everyone to begin taking a look at this beautiful book, Mistakes and Miracles, Congregations on the Road to Multiculturalism. And I brought one extra copy with me if someone wants to purchase it today, but you can get it on Google or online. It's so relevant to us, and urge you to start taking a look. After the postlude, if you're on Zoom, please stay on for chat. If you're here, join us right downstairs for coffee. As we conclude, today, as we mark the 100th anniversary of the beautiful ritual of flowers, surely we felt a deeper connection to one another, one that will grow and strengthen the bonds of this community. And we remind ourselves of the unique worth of every person around us, on Zoom, here. May we go forth from this time better prepared to live from the best part of ourselves and to unselfishly share our love with others. As we embark on the next chapter in the life of this congregation, let us remember the flowers of this day and what they have to teach us. And now we extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we take with us to help us meet the challenges of the week ahead. May peace be with you till we meet again.